So welcome to our Advent study. We're excited about this. I was given this book several years ago, I want to say 4, by Alex Donovan. You know Alex. And it was one that they had used in their family for a while, and it was a complete treat for me engaging it for the first time. And as I referred to in the sermon about the Celts, whom I have a great fondness for, the Celts had this notion of the big book of God and the little book of God. The big book of God was creation. The little book of God was scripture. As I have grown older, I have embraced the big book of God. It was never really handed to me as a child as a possibility for ways to encounter God. And this, I think this book does. So the author talks about in the introduction how she came to create the Advent calendar for her boys. She had 2 growing boys. And she went looking for Advent calendars, and they were all pretty, you open up the box and you see a picture of a candy cane sometimes, or even a figure of Christ. But she was looking for a different kind of calendar, and what she wrote in the introduction really made an impression on me. She said, she was looking for daily miniatures in her Advent calendar that were less about Christ's human birth and more about the need for that birth. So she features animals in God's creation and reflects upon them as they enter the darkest time of the world, darkest time of the year, excuse me. And she says, looking at the animal portraits year after year shows how a healthy soul responds to encroaching darkness. And there's more than one response. They take in the threat of dark and cold, and they adapt in amazing and ingenious ways. They shape themselves to life as it is given. And each animal reflects in its own ways that the dark is not an end, but a door. This is the way of a new beginning comes. So I'm excited. We're going to feature 4 of her animals, although she has a lot more for the whole season of Advent, but we will feature 4 in our Advent series. So I'm excited. Would y'all like to share anything about the book?
Yeah, I didn't know this book until Felicia, I guess a couple months ago, introduced me to it, and I fell in love with all of it. The images, the children's version is going around too. So there's the adult version has woodblock prints. We'll work with each of those. The children's version has paintings and shorter text. Just marvelous. One of my teachers is a man some of you know named Richard Rohr. He's a Franciscan. And one of the first things I learned from him is the first gospel is creation. And when I heard him say that, just something in me opened and allowed little girl Amy to be with big theological student Amy. It all made sense together. And I think this book really is symbolic of that. We are blessed to share our home with 3 tortoises. And they are so different, obviously, from us and from so many of our other pets, that watching them over the years, they have taught me so much about how to winter and how to rest, and how to be awake when you're awake.
And comfortable.
Right. And likewise, we call our backyard the sanctuary because we don't have cats or dogs. And everyone around us does. And we have a lot of trees and we feed everybody. It's just the lessons that we have learned from that sanctuary have been so plentiful.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited. And we will have each week as we learn the guide from the guide of that animal, we'll have a different practice to offer you to maybe take in the following week to see how that fits with your advice.
And they're not by any means the only practice that you can use with these, but the idea is to kind of settle in your soul into the motion of the animal, whatever that is. Whether it's a real retreat or a different kind of presence or whatever. And then you can kind of say, okay, now how does this fit with my own spiritual life and what practices would make sense to me about it? But the ones we've included were kind of what made sense to us this time around.
Stories. Okay, so our first guide, our guide this week is Red Fox, and you all have the word block for the image. And I'll read to you the text that Gail Boss wrote. And if you're willing, you might want to just close your eyes and let the words come to you, or look at the image and see if you can inhabit that space, that kind of consciousness of that red fox. So she starts with a little text from the poet Jane Hirschfeld, which is on your page. Something looks back from the trees and knows me for who I am. Red fox. The longest night of the year retreats reluctantly. Slow to wake, morning seeps in, gray and grainy. Startling then, the quick orange brush stroked against the snow at the field's edge, her signature curving into the thicket and gone. Finally, the fox will rest. It's likely she's been out since the sun set yesterday, 15 dark hours ago. Hours keenly focused on quieting her hunger. The berries and autumn fruits she loves are gone. The beetles, other insects, and lizards perished or burrowed underground. Most birds are flown. And few creatures have died from exposure this early into winter, or she would feed her urgent body with their fallen ones. I turn my route toward her vanishing point. Intersecting her tracks, I follow and see them change. They fall closer together and pivot a quarter turn, then stop. For 6 feet or so, the snow lies quiet, unbroken. Then a churned commotion of a hole and 2 drops of blood. Minutes ago, the fox was trotting westward across the field when tiny rustling, shuffling, squeaking sounds rippled through the snow from as far away as a football field and into the soft receptacles of her ears. She stopped. She cocked her head side to side, right ear high, left ear high, measuring the split-second lag between the rustle, squeak, reaching one ear, then the other. Thus she estimated where under the white expanse its source stirred. But to stay alive, she needs precision. Once she'd taken the sound's measure, she crept ahead, ears alert, furred pillows of her paws falling with less than a whisper on the snow. Then, still listening, she turned, aiming her body of attention just east of true north. She saw north. It seems Earth's magnetic field creates a patch of shadow on her eye's retina to show her north. When she turned north, the shadow she saw went ahead of her, step by deliberate step. Homing in, She lined up the shadow, always the same precise distance from her, with the shifting under snow sound. For a breath, she crouched. Then she reared onto her hind legs, knees bent, launching up and out on a trajectory into which she had factored speed and direction of the invisible scurrying, depth and resistance of the snow cover. In mid-air, she made minute corrections with the rudder of her tail. At the peak of a precisely ordered arc, she plunged. For a silent instant, she seemed headless in the snow. Then she wriggled up out of the crater she'd made. Righted, she lifted her muzzle skyward and gulped. Though she listens intently to detect the distant wisp of sound, though she trains on it the whole of her attention, allowing no distractions as she moves in with steps polished into silence. In winter, these remarkable powers are insufficient. To complete them, to find the hidden nourishment, she must turn in the direction of the shadow. If she leaps without its reliable lead, she will come up empty 4 out of 5 times. Following it, she is fed.
So as you listen to the story, what 2 things stood out for you? For me, it was the shadow of true north that's always in the red. And then you think, how is my true north? How do I perceive my true north, where I have that relationship with God that's just always present? And then how does that guide my own perception or my own hunting for insight, awareness and all that? So that was one, and the other was that ability to just sit back on your haunches and leap. I was like, it's been a while since I've been able to do that. So how about the rest of you? Any?
Well, I have seen a fox at Rolandwood Park, a red fox. And that what impressed me at first, and I agree with Laura. For the most part, but. She just looked straight at me, just like she knew me. And how I'm gonna be able to do anything to her. Except, I mean, I thought that she was very beautiful. And then, then she took off as fast as she could go. And it was, it was kind of a magic feeling. To see that creature that looked like she knew.
One thing that struck me, other than the shadow, was just the pure beauty and mystery of here's this wild, dumb creature who is triangulating sound and doing math in its head more than many of us could do. And just, I mean, as somebody who's scientifically trained, that's just astounding to me and beautiful. And that might indicate each of us has gifts that are mysterious to others.
The physics in the natural world is absolutely astounding. That we are, we're inadequate in the appreciation, I think, of just the smallest things in our natural world.
Yeah. Wow. We've really lost that ability to attend, haven't we?
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
and live in awe, just, we've lost the awe, maybe, brings us back.
Well, when we were thinking about this, the spiritual practice that we decided on, you guys, did you want to add anything before, okay. Suddenly dawned on me. We thought that the spiritual practice that might fit with this, intensity of listening and finding where true north is for you would be an examine. Because what that does, it's a practice that you can do like every night before you go to bed or once a week. A lot of times it's really nice to do it with your partner because you learn so much about each other through doing it. And what it does is focus you on what was going on in your own heart during the day. And especially your own heart in relationship to the larger world and to God. And so it's a great practice for kind of honing that, I think of the fox's big ears and just taking it all in. And this would be a taking in of your own inner stuff, but ability to sort of focus and say, yeah, this is where it was for me. And it teaches you about yourself. You learn what kind of little animal you are through the practice of an examine over time. So I thought we could try it out together, and the one that I'm using here is called the Rivers of Life Examined. And this came to me through Roseanne, who did her spiritual direction training with Vi Thorgren in Denver in her Restoring Connections group. And this was an examine that Vi created, and we both really appreciate it. So what you do is just sit with each question for a little while and then write down your answer. And at the end, we'll kind of see if there's anything that you want to share about it. But the first thing, yeah, it'll take about 20 minutes, say, and then just write your answers and see what you think. And you folks online, did you get my, Jody, you probably didn't get my link that I sent. Did everybody else get the link I sent? Okay, good. So I'll send it to you, Jody, and then you can have the document too.
Thanks.
And you can look at this as yesterday or last week, just think of it that way. Alrighty. So how was that experience for you? Great.
So how was
Well, particularly, on the back page, about the surprise. So I wrote about my grandson, who I was surprised about his maturity at Thanksgiving. He's just gone over that little hump where he was so appropriate socially and agreeable, and he asked about different foods and then assured us that he would like it. And he was just kind of a little gentleman. And that was, it was just fun to see that maturity. And then I had just shared that he has been working for 2 weeks on an advent calendar for me. And so this was, I was deeply touched. And, so he just delivered it between service and this event. He labored over it. It wasn't working. He tried again and then he tried again, but he was determined. And it's a big box, wrapped in Christmas paper, and there are cells for each of the days, the 25 days.
Just intersected cardboard boxes to make all this.
And so he told me when we transferred it from his father's vehicle to mine, that I just am supposed to cut a little X out right where I see the number written on top of it. And then open it up and then that'll be mine. Well, how sweet is that?
It's some of his Halloween candy and a note to her. I helped him write all the notes.
Oh,
Gosh.
overall
But she
feeling,
does that for her grandchildren every year. She writes caramel and writes them a note of like affirmation, and so it's a
Family
it's a return of the love.
but I never thought of it, would you? I never thought of it.
Right,
So,
yeah, really.
Nice.
Yeah.
I forgot there was a back page. This is reminiscent of something of a math test I took in high school. I totally missed the back side. Obviously did not pass that test.
You can do
but
it later, yeah.
I can do that.
It's like a reoccurring dream where you're like,
And use it hopefully again and again, I mean.
For sure. But I was able to reflect on something that happened last night. It was really I have to set this up. We had a young family over that had, I'm from the Midwest and you play euchre in the Midwest. Does anybody know what euchre is? Oh, good. But anyway, we haven't played it since we've been. No, it's a card game, goes fast, you know. Anyway, and we've met this couple. Well, I met them when we went on a pilgrimage with their church to Italy and Greece in the footsteps of Paul. And it was just a magnificent 12 days. And so I met this couple and I could tell he was pretty strong, and the lady, her name, anyway, she's an angel. It's come to my attention since then. That's been 2 years ago, and we've connected because we play euchre. Okay, they have 3 cute little kids, 1 4-year-old, two twins, 8-year-old twins. And I know by way of someone else who knows the family situation is that it is an extremely toxic situation. The father is very cruel. And so I prayed when I found out, I realized something was not right. And Angie, the lady, asked if we could maybe get together and do cards sometime. And I said, sure, that sounds great. But I also knew that there was this controlling husband that was not very healthy with the family. Anyway, and then but I thought, no, we're gonna do this. We're gonna invite them. And just the 2 of them, they were supposed, which they've always come. And then he says, can we bring the kids? And I thought, oh boy, knowing my husband, not that we have that fancy of a house or anything, but I've seen those kids at their house and what they do. Kind of like she homeschools and it's just a different kind of atmosphere. And I thought, oh, John's gonna kill me, but I think the kids should come. So they came. Anyway, being with that family last night, just the little girl, the 8-year-old, they were awesome. They cleaned up after themselves. They only broke 1 arm, and that was all, you know. No, we asked them to decorate our tree because we had just started, I was like this with the Advent. We never had anything till right before Christmas. We only had the Advent wreath and an Advent calendar. But anyway, the kids were darling. And Dad at the cards is saying, and she goes down, and every morning I wake up and I hear her singing in this cat. Oh, it sounds so terrible. And she comes up to me and says, could I sing a song for you? And we were all there together, and she sang this darling song about how her dad teaches her how to look up at the stars and look for the very special star that means that was coming. Now, she was off key, and you could tell this was whether she remembered, whether it was verses or whatever, but it was such a heart-wrenching expression of her wanting to be connected with his dad, who doesn't seem to know how to, I don't know, it's just, I listened to her song, it was so fragile, and yet it seemed so hopeful. She was trying to be hopeful. Anyway, I'm not sure where it's going, but I just am so grateful for that experience, that we could be a part of their family, and if there's anything, you know, I'm just trying to be open to where the Lord leads me to see how we can support the brokenhearted there. But wow, that was a big add. So I never would have thought about that had this, I appreciate this.
Yeah, that's what it's for, to kind of focus the important
Yeah.
moments, yeah. Yeah, anybody else?
Well, I had a weird week, but I won't go on.
Right.
But I didn't have this weird feeling in my chest for like a couple weeks, no pain, no nothing.
Mm.
And I made an appointment with the cardiologist on, it would have been last Friday. And told my kids about it, Maureen knows about it, and the kids rallied. We had this one fiercer than the other two daughter, and she rallied them all and said, you've got to go to the ER, you got to go. And this is after I had the Barrage test. Go to the ER. No, I'm just gonna wait till Friday. I've got an appointment. So, but what turned out happening is but anyway, it just like, I don't know how to get this all straight, but just like, you know, I ended up in the MCR for 3 days, and just the kindness of the staff. I know they get paid to be kind, but it's more than that. And that was part of the, something I observed. And I left there feeling just really cared for, you know, and then where's the rest of this? And going on, the challenge was just realizing that I was being selfish and not listening to my daughters, and made me see things differently. Just how much it would affect them if I kicked the bucket. And so anyway, just I don't know. It's an emotional thing, but my family just pushing me to do that, and then the selfishness part of and not taking them into consideration. So anyway, but yeah, I ended up like going in and getting a stint, and there's 99% blocked, and never had any. But anyway, I don't know how all that ties in, but that was my experience that made me adjust to how I'm viewing people with more care and compassion.
It's kind of like there's a true north in there. Isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Just for kids and wife.
Yeah.
Sad.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my true north.
My first kind of comment with that or note was that it's really a shared experience. You know, it's just not you, it's you sharing that experience somehow. Or your desire to want to share that. You know, so you can experience something, but then that's just not the end of it. You know, there's the big picture, you know,
Yeah.
there's others that are there. And then another part of extension of that is when you finally maybe you're ready to share, you disclose it to those that you think are going to be receptive. You know, so, you know, I spend a lot of time outdoors. Nature just talks to me, and I see things out there, yet I don't talk about it, or if I do, it's just to try and open somebody's eyes a little tiny bit. Usually, you know, after the first try or two, now they're the small screen people. They just doesn't talk to them. So would you talk to those that will be open to it?
Hmm. Sounds like that's an important question to kind of hold in your heart, isn't it? Who do you talk to? How do you have that? Shared appreciation, where do you find it? And, yeah, so that's the question. That we're working on.
The initial implication is it's with people.
Mm.
Yes, and it is.
Let's see.
Mine was on the first thing, and something that inspired me, and it's something that I've read, and it's from a book that I've read many times, actually, it's in this author's, two of her books. Ours not to ponder what were fair in life, but in finding what may be, make it fair up to our means. I've always thought I have nothing to give because I don't have much. And I have to say, I may not have much in terms of money and so forth, but it doesn't take much money to get some yarn.
Mm.
And I have a lot of yarn. And I can take what I'm able to do and use it to enrich the lives of others, to make people happy, make people smile, keep people warm. And when I do that, it enriches my life and makes me able to go on and do more for others. And I can sing, and that enriches the worship, which builds me up and enables me to go on and do more. Which leads me on to the second one, stretched and challenged to see other things, and that came from another person, because I was made to feel that I was not smart growing up. I have incredibly intelligent siblings. I realized that I'm actually pretty smart. It may not run in the same vein as brothers and sisters who are linguists and aeronautical engineers and so forth and so on. But I'm a pretty smart person, and if I don't know something, I know how to go find it.
Yep. You're one of the most generous people I know, actually. Yeah,
And amen to the original service,
yes.
both of you.
Yes, and you're very smart too.
I can share the story of my friend Patty in terms of being deeply touched that some of you and a little Tuesday morning group have heard this. My dearest friend Patty has other dearest friends, one of whom has two sons in their mid-40s, late 40s. The younger is her godchild and very close to this family. Learned from the mom that in a matter of 1 week, one boy was diagnosed with ALS and the other with pancreatic cancer.
Oh.
And how can, that's just so devastating. So Patty obviously is also deeply hurt. She went to Grand Teton National Park the day before they're closing the road, so you could get in further and hike our favorite little hike in Lupin Meadow. And Patty, yeah. She got out of the car and started walking along Lupin Meadow, and an eagle joined her and stayed circling her through the hike. And all she heard was, I know. I know. Not it's gonna be okay, not, I know. And it was a pretty constant message. She walked back to her car. The eagle was perched in a tree. And as she opened the car door, the eagle just gave her this final big caw and flew away.
Wow.
I've been listening to an interview, from my cooking podcast that dropped last week. And I've pretty much been listening to it just on repeat. And what that episode ends up with is the longing in Tolkien's work is not for the happy ending. Because we know the happy ending is always going to be marred by something. What we want though, what we desperately want is not for the tears to be taken away, but for the bitterness of those tears to be absolved for us. And that has just been sitting with me and resonating, and I've been pondering that every day. That in a way that's what I want. I know when I went through the suicide of my brother, that the gentleness came when the bitterness left.
Oh, man, yeah.
I'm so thankful to be reminded of this practice. No, say, no, nature's like, Leola. But I haven't practiced it in a while, so it was lovely to bring up what I've heard and reflect upon. So I'm thankful for that practice.
Yeah, hopefully, I mean, as you use it more than just one time, you begin to get a sense of who you are from the things that you find that you respond to. And so you go, oh, I'm not that person. So that also gives you a sense of your true north.
So I'm going to close us by reading again what Amy read on Red Fox. So I invite you to close your eyes if you would like to let it focus, or whatever is most comfortable to you. Red Fox. The longest night of the year retreats reluctantly. Slow to wake, morning seeps in, gray and grainy. Startling then, the quick orange brush stroked against the snow at the field's edge, her signature curving into the thicket and gone. Finally, the fox will rest. It's likely she's been out since the sunset yesterday, 15 dark hours ago. Hours keenly focused on quieting her hunger. The berries and autumn fruits she loves are gone. The beetles, other insects, and lizards perished or burrowed underground. Most birds far flown, and few creatures have died from exposure this early into winter, or she would feed her urgent body with their fallen ones. I turn my route toward her vanishing point. Intersecting her tracks, I follow and see them change. They fall closer together and pivot a quarter turn, then stop. For 6 feet or so, the snow lies quiet, unbroken. Then a churned commotion of a hole and 2 drops of blood. Minutes ago, the fox was trotting westward across the field when tiny rustling, shuffling, squeaking sounds rippled through the snow from as far away as a football field and into the soft receptacles of her ears. She stopped. She cocked her head side to side, right ear high, left ear high, measuring the split-second lag between the rustle squeak, reaching one ear, then the other. Thus she estimated where, under the white expanse, its source stirred. But to stay alive, she needs precision. Once she'd taken the sound's measure, she crept ahead, ears alert, furred pillows of her paws falling with less than a whisper on the snow. Then, still listening, she turned, aiming her body of attention just east of true north. She saw north. It seems Earth's magnetic field creates a patch of shadow on her eyes' retina to show her north. When she turned north, the shadow she saw went ahead of her, step by deliberate step. Homing in, she lined up the shadow, always the same, precise distance from her, with the shifting under snow sound. For a breath, she crouched, and then she reared on her hind legs, knees bent, launching up and out on a trajectory into which she had factored speed and direction of the invisible scurrying, depth and resistance of the snow cover. In midair, she made minute corrections with the rudder of her tail. At the peak of a precisely ordered arc, she plunged. For a silent instant, she seemed headless in the snow. Then she wriggled up out of the crater she'd made. Righted, she lifted her muzzle skyward and gulped. Though she listens intently to detect the distant wisp of sound, though she trains on it the whole of her attention, allowing no distractions as she moves in with steps polished into silence, in winter, these remarkable powers are insufficient. To complete them, to find the hidden nourishment, she must turn in the direction of the shadow. If she leaps without its reliable lead, she will come up empty 4 out of 5 times. Following it, she is fed. Go in peace, my friends.
Everybody.